Welcome to Keeping It Together.
A series of recorded conversations about why we need to reframe the topic of self-care from being a reward to being a requirement.
Are you an entrepreneur, business owner, or leader who is struggling to prioritize yourself while keeping your company going?
We get it because we're also business owners and have had to juggle to keep it all together too.
Our goal is to share our resources and perspectives on topics related to all aspects of personal wellness to help our fellow business owners and leaders thrive as people.
Yeah, so that they can support their companies and employees to flourish too.
I'm Geneviève Segor from Marquee Benefits.
And I'm Jackie Faulkner from Thrive State. Welcome to our conversation.
Welcome everyone and to our third conversation, and today we're going to dive into time management. And so what is time management? Why is it important for business owners and leaders to really focus on time management?
Mm-hmm. It's funny because this has become one of my favorite things to talk about, and we all only have 168 hours per week, and we all spend them however we spend them. But for business owners and leaders like ourselves, there legitimately is a lot of things that need to get done in order to keep things going. And so I think the reason that it's important to talk about it is because we have to learn how to prioritize and maximize our productivity without getting burnt out.
Right.
Because the tendency is to just keep going. And I think the tendency is also to see or only consider outputs, our productivity, as sort of counting, and we forget about the importance of refueling ourselves, that time is equally as important. It also deserves our time so that we can be productive. So I think it's actually about burnout prevention. And business owners don't have the luxury of just, putting in time, go to work, put in your hours, collect your paycheck, don't think about
and
it.
Clock out.
And clock out.
Yeah.
It's not the same
Yeah.
for business owners. We know that.
Yeah.
And so, in order to keep growing the business, your business development efforts, those are things that take time that you need to plan for, because there's also the competing things are vying for our attention.
Of course.
Employees need us, customers need us, the business itself needs us, plus whatever other roles we have in our life. We're moms,
right?
We have families, maybe old parents that we take care of, whatever the case may be. So there's lots of things that require our time, and so we have to be able to know what's important, how to spend that time.
Right.
And I think too that it's I think we underestimate the cost of interruptions to us. It takes about 20 minutes to get back to where you were on a project or a task every time you're interrupted. And just in the world of notifications and all the dings and emails and phone calls, really at the end of the day, how much did you get done?
Yeah.
Because as business owners and leaders, we get lots of interruptions. And
I'm surprised it's that long.
Yeah.
Like, I'll be completely honest.
Yeah.
It escaped me that 20 minutes would be the time from interruption to refocus.
Right. And that's, particularly on tasks that require a lot of focus, right? If you're writing or, immersed in a project, every time you get called, your attention is called away from that. You have to reposition yourself back to where you were, and that takes time.
Yeah.
And people don't know that and don't account for that when they're planning their day or answering the calls, allowing for interruptions. So I think there's lots of demands on business owners for our time, and so that's why this is important to talk about.
Yeah. I find it also very challenging as you do try to take active management of your time to be very mindful of this is my tasks for the day, this is what I'm going to dive into. And sometimes I get a little frustrated when I underestimate something that I'm doing.
Yeah.
It's quite like I get a little stressful from that event because it dominoes into the next thing that I had planned for the day.
Right. So even when you've set aside the time, in my experience, inevitably other things come up. And you know, you're as the business owner or leader, you're the one that people are calling to sort it out. And so you think you've blocked out this time, and then all of a sudden other people need you, or it's taking longer than you expected for whatever reason.
That's right. It can be quite challenging, and to also understand what are the things that are distracting us. Are they valid, right? So if someone's coming to you with a question and needs your attention right away, or is it simply your attention span that has triggered, you didn't even know, that all of a sudden you have lost concentration, and that's a challenge as well.
Yeah, I'm glad you say that, because that's actually one of the things that I think people don't realize is that, I mean, we all have different, roughly, different personal attention span, different times of the day when we might be, more productive, more focused than others. And so absolutely, it's really important to tune in to those things and build your calendar around your own personal energy levels.
Right.
And there's also research that says, in general, there is a time limit. It's around 17 to 25 minutes of focus time, and then your brain will want at least a 5-minute break, 5 to 15-minute break. And so I think one of the things that gets in the way of people sort of being productive or making the most of their time is that we have this assumption that, if I'm working on the computer, if because I'm sitting in front of my computer equals I'm working. And we sort of force ourselves to just kind of plow through. But what will happen, our brain will hit that point in time where it just can't focus anymore. It needs a break. So we'll end up, flipping over to Facebook or going onto Amazon or, doing
Picking your phone up. Yeah.
Something.
Yeah.
And so if we don't plan for giving ourselves a break or how we're going to spend that break, then we waste that time. So in other words, our brain is going to take a break, and it just needs a break from the focused task. It doesn't need a break of mindless things necessarily. I actually have on my to-do list my break tasks that are other things that I want to do to be productive that don't take much time. So, when I'm working at home, the 25, for me, it's about 25, maybe half an hour. When I notice, my brain is tuning out of this thing, then I will get up and go throw in a load of laundry or go unload the dishwasher, or because I'm working from home. So I'm getting other little things done it's giving my mind the break from the task, and I'm still getting something else done. I don't feel like I wasted the time in a Instagram vortex.
Yeah, of course.
Something, the scrolling, right? That's just, I intentionally plan for those mental breaks.
And I really like to hear that, because what you've done is, if you've given your mind a break from the focus, from the important work that you're working on for your clients, for your colleagues, and yet you are being productive in that time. And it's, again, reframing how you spend the time to give yourself the breaks you need to be optimal, right? To work at a certain level.
Right.
I find also a challenge with over preparedness, where I will dive into a project, and I find this in the consulting side, as we do, because you want to make sure you didn't miss anything. Each stone is turned, the solutions are all clearly defined, that your mind then becomes this over perfection, and so I have to learn to detach and to complete that work, right? Complete the work, it's ready to go, move on to the next one that's planned for my day. Because that could be a downfall a little bit for business owners, others.
Right, and I don't think you're alone in that. A lot of, myself included, I would identify as a recovering perfectionist. I think a lot of us are, we're driven to excellence, and because the business is a reflection of us, we want it to be the best that it can be. And you're absolutely right that, those things take time, and what is good enough, what is acceptable to meet your standards, while also meeting your timelines or the deadlines that you have. And so, it is a challenge.
It is.
That's all a challenge.
Yeah, and I think that's why I'm thinking of time management as an active exercise, right? You're actively engaging in it. And can we talk about what sabotages us? Like, can we really dive into that?
Yes. So I think there's a few things.
Yeah.
I think one thing I see quite a lot is this sort of, I call it the email illusion. So and I'm guilty of it, I've done it myself, where I'll sit down to work for the day and I'm just emailing. And, for every email that comes out, another one comes back. Like, it's the mowing the lawn of the virtual world. You clean your inbox and then it just grows back, right? At the end of the day, if all I've done is email people, I haven't actually spent time on the projects. Email is it's a great communication tool, and it's not to say, some emails are necessary. It's just, I think, easy to get sucked into emailing as being working, and forgetting to spend time or building time for the project, the tasks, the bigger chunks of time. So I think that's one thing that gets in the way. I also think not blocking out time for our personal wellness, our self-care, and actually prioritizing, keeping those appointments with ourselves in the same way that we would with someone else. And the reason I say that, I think of have you heard of the story of the woodcutter who, he's chopping wood, winter is coming, he's chopping wood, and he's chopping, and as he's chopping, the axe is getting duller, so it's taking longer, and it's not as efficient, and someone's saying to him, why don't you stop and sharpen the axe? And he's saying, no, I don't have time, I got to keep chopping the wood. When really, if he would just, stop every hour or half hour and sharpen the axe, he would get done more in less time. And so I think the same thing applies to, I think we need, the problem is that we don't recognize how important self-care time is, that it's equally, if not more important than your output time, in order to have the energy and the internal resources to fuel your productivity time. Increase efficiency, exactly. You need to have been fueled personally. And so I think that's part of what gets in the way, is this belief that we have to get all the work done before we can take care of ourselves. And it actually needs to be the opposite.
And it needs to be integrated. And we've talked about this in our first couple episodes about integrating that time and that priority. And we've talked about being too busy.
Yeah.
Right?
I hate that word.
I know you hate that word. And I know that, and rightly, because it takes away, I think it's subjective. I know you've talked about this before.
Totally. So I think it is another one of the problems. I think, busy just means I have a great deal to do. So yes, I'm busy, you're busy. We have, as business owners, leaders, yes, we have lots to do. I think the way that we use that word, because I do hear people say, I don't have time, I can't do that, I'm too busy. What they're actually saying is, I'm overwhelmed. I feel stressed.
Yep.
And so when we think about, I like the way, I don't know how to say his name, it's Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, who wrote the book Flow, who talks about, the optimal flow state when when we lose track of time because we're so immersed in a task. The way to achieve that is an optimal level of challenge, so that whatever it is that we're doing, it's interesting and challenging enough, and we have the skills and resources to do whatever it is that we're doing.
Yeah.
because if we have more challenge than skills and resources, that's when we get overwhelmed. If we have more skills and resources than the challenge requires, it's boring.
Yeah.
And so the tendency, I think, as business owners, is that we're really we get challenged, and there's lots that's required of us that might not be in our wheelhouse.
Yeah.
You know, you start a business because
Yeah.
you're really good at the thing that you do, but running a business requires, you know, HR management
Yeah.
and marketing, or you know,
Yeah.
other things that
Other things.
aren't your expertise
Yeah.
all of a sudden. So the challenge level went way up versus your skills and resources to do that. So the overwhelm goes up. So it's not that you do have a great deal to do, but it's more about how you feel about it. So, and busy isn't a feeling.
Yeah.
Stressed and overwhelmed is a feeling.
Yeah.
And
Anxiety is a feeling.
Anxiety is a feeling.
Yeah.
And so when you recognize, you know, of course I'm busy, I'm a business owner, that I have a lot to do.
Absolutely.
If I'm feeling stressed and overwhelmed, then the idea is, what are the resources that I need to you know, put in place, or skills that I need to work on developing to bring down the overwhelm.
Right.
Because there is, you know, probably always going to be a great deal to do
Yeah.
as a business owner.
It's identifying the tasks and where they fit on that graph, basically, right? Are they in the flow and you're working at the optimal level? Are you simply just outside it because brings a little bit of anxiety, which I think is okay.
For sure.
There's
You're
a good
learning new
level,
things, you're
right?
pushing your comfort level.
There's a good
Right.
level of anxiety that
Totally.
allows you to strive and be competitive and challenge yourself as well. But it is knowing to come back down to that flow channel,
Right.
and maintain that level. What's below that channel, when you have potential boredom, you want to make sure that those tasks may be delegated
Right.
and they come off your desk,
Mhm.
right? So then that overwhelming feeling kind of dissipates a bit.
Totally.
And that, I found that a really interesting concept to dive into today. I'm glad we talked about it.
Yes. The other thing I think that I see commonly, I'm certainly guilty of myself, is the tendency as business owners to say yes to every request that comes our way. I definitely tend to be a yes person, and so recognizing that's part of the stress or overwhelm is, you know, being overcommitted. So I've definitely had people not agree with me, which is fine. Ultimately, I really think everything that is on our to-do list is there because we said yes to it for some reason. We made a decision, and so it's on the list of things. And I think that we forget that we can, if it is causing too much stress or too much overwhelm, we can make a different decision.
Right.
You know, even to the extreme of, you know, if owning the business is too much
Right.
stress, like you chose that,
Yeah.
and so then if that's too much, then you could choose to go work, you know, be an employee somewhere,
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
So it's, I think when the myth of, or forgetting that we're not at choice as it relates to our time is where we get really disempowered and really stressed out.
Because all of this ties into your mental wellness, right? And we can talk about, you know, some of our experiences when it comes to time management.
Yeah, what's
And
been your experience?
I find, especially in our consulting roles, right, it's about setting client expectations for me right at the beginning. So understanding the scope of the project we're working on and making sure that I allow myself enough time to multitask multiple projects all at the same time and meeting those expectations. If I don't set that expectations at the very beginning, that's where my stress levels go up. And I feel like I can't manage efficiently. And I think I've spoke about this before in our other episodes about being a visual learner and writing down. I will go old school and writing down tasks and projects and then breaking it down further so that I can visually see the project, right? It's not just a concept in my mind. I've actually broken it down. And that gives me comfort. That gives me a good perspective
Mhm.
on what needs to be done and how then I manage that project from
Mhm.
beginning to end.
Mhm.
And I think the other thing that I enjoy and was a little bit of a learning curve was the comfort that routine brings into my life.
Mm.
And I learned that very early, and for many of you who know me, my youngest son is on the autism spectrum, so there was lots to learn about the benefits of a routine and structure for him, and I see him flourish in a routine. And it's of course not meant to be rigid, right? That's what's great about routine. It's meant to be played with and not, set up yourself that you're not resilient in the light of a challenge.
Right.
But there is comfort in knowing structure within your day, sort of the skeleton, I guess, of
Know
your
what to
day,
anticipate, know what's coming.
right? And making sure that as you book meetings, you know which days you're booking meetings, and right. So it's allowing for consistency
Mhm.
and of what your work week will look like.
Mhm.
I'm working on it. It's not quite there yet because you do have a tendency to say yes
Mhm.
to certain, clients asking for next day meetings when it wasn't supposed to be sort of a meeting day, right?
Right.
And that's okay. That's where you kind of deviate a bit
Sure.
from the routine. But
Keep it
having
flexible.
that skeleton of a structure, again, we talked about this last episode. I don't have to worry about my food. Right, like my meals are prepped for the week. I know that that's not a worry. That's part of my routine. Again, I find that it's finding what you find comfort in.
Right, what you can build routines on
Yeah.
of the little things that save time.
And that helps you manage your time better.
Mhm.
Absolutely. How about you?
Yeah, I think I will always remember this. It's a couple winters ago now. I was out for a snowshoe. I dropped my daughter off at daycare. I was going to go for a snowshoe, and it always takes me 45 minutes, this loop that I do, and I had the rest of my day planned of what I had to do for work. And for me, it was, this is my exercise. I love being outside. I'm out. I'm snowshoeing, and it happened to be really deep snow that day, and I didn't have a watch or a clock. Like I didn't have a way to know what time it was. But as I was going on this walk, I just knew that I was going slower because of how deep the snow was getting. I was about halfway, and I started to feel this anxiety, like, oh no, I'm late. I'm running behind. I'm only there is no shortcut to get back. I'm out here, and it's probably going to take me at least twice as long. And so I was having all this anxiety of like, oh, I'm rushing. I'm running behind. I don't have time to be now doing this thing that I had set aside time for. So I kept, I'm picking up the pace. I'm trying to go, and then I sort of had this aha moment of like, there's no actual. Everything on my to-do list that day is self-imposed. I've put it there. The reason I'm out here is because this is what fuels me. Being outside, exercise, time by myself, those are all things that I need to fuel my day or my week. And so in that moment, I said, you know what? It is what it is. I'm going to give myself permission to enjoy the rest of this trip, even though it's longer than I expected. Mm-hmm. And and I'll get home when I get home, and I'll start my day. And it took me more than twice as long by the time I got home. And the amazing thing was that day, in less work hours, I got done all of the things I had planned to get done with more time. And I think it has stuck with me to say, I prioritized my self-care. It was literally the first thing of my day. And it took a long time, just kind of by accident, but I still got everything done that needed to get done that day, and that's okay. And so for me, I've tried to maintain. I don't go snowshoeing for 2 hours every day, but I definitely schedule in self-care time, and with very few exceptions, does anything else get to would I say yes to?
To trump it.
Right?
Like,
is that is the meeting? No, if you ask me for a meeting and I just say, sorry, I'm booked at that time. You don't know that the meeting is with myself,
Yeah.
but I will keep the meeting with
Right.
myself because I know that it's what keeps me well
Yeah.
the rest of the day or
Yeah.
the week. Yeah.
Keeps you engaged and,
Yes.
fueled throughout the
Totally.
day,
Yes.
right? I think, sometimes we do get that tired afternoon feel, right?
Right.
So if you fuel yourself throughout the day, then I think we can go longer. Right? We know that you've proved it.
Yeah.
There's your case study,
Yes.
everyone.
Yeah. Totally. The other thing that has been a huge help for me in my relationship to time has been meditation. I've had a morning kind of meditation practice for almost 3 years now, and I can't even tell you the ways that it has helped me with my focus and concentration, my ability to have perspective from time and not just get caught up in the emotions of being overwhelmed or whatever. I can kind of step back from situations and to just generally not feel rushed. That has for me has come out of giving. And when I say meditation, it's like 10, maybe 12 minutes a day. So it's not a huge chunk of time.
But it's giving you the skills.
It's absolutely.
Right?
I've been training my brain.
Yes, it's
Totally.
giving you the skills so that when you are in your focused time, things aren't coming in interrupting you because you've exercised your brain to not let
Yes.
things come in.
Yeah.
And I think that is a huge benefit of meditation,
Mm-hmm.
is learning that skill. And you have to learn it.
Yes. It takes. Yeah. It's like a
practice.
mental workout.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's so fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
And, as we talk about these things that sabotage us, what would be our top resources or recommendations for our listeners to help with time management?
Yeah, what are all the kind of tools? I mean,
Mhm.
for meditation, my favorite meditation app is the Calm app. I use that one. I think I have like a few month freebies I can give away to if somebody wants to give it a try. The Trello app, I really like that one. That's a cloud-based organization tool where you can track different projects. You can invite teams because it's cloud-based, so you can invite different people. So it's interactive and very visual, like you said, as a way to see, here's all the things, and you can manage them, you can fit them in your calendar, you can kind of plan for them. A book, I don't know, for the people who like reading or listen, if there is an audio book, there's by Laura Vanderkam. It's called I Know How She Does It. And that one was really helpful for me in describing, so rather than seeing our to-do list within a day, she takes it back and looks at the week and how to make the mosaic, she calls it, of your week. That you can spend chunks of time, say with your kids or other things that are just as important to you as working. You're not going to have time for everything every day, and I think sometimes we forget that. So it's okay, if I, maybe spend less time with my daughter today, or maybe I have to leave early before, and I don't see her. But then if I have several hours with her on the weekend, like that's okay, and it just gives it a bit more of a bigger picture.
More balance.
More
right?
balance, yeah. And I think the time blocking thing that I mentioned, that's been really and giving myself permission to say I'm worth keeping appointments with. I'm going to protect that time, so blocking out chunks of time for myself and making that transition to say that this counts as work time. My definition of work time isn't restricted to outputs and productivity.
Right.
My work time includes self-care time because that's how I'm able to do my work. What about for you?
I really like all those ideas, and I find what's great in my role is that we're seeing so many great programs and the technology side, right? That's really there to enhance all of those strategies that you personally take are then supported with business products and organizational tools that are there to streamline, to become more efficient. And so in in my industry, in the benefits world, in the retirement world, I'm thinking from an HR perspective, you've got human resources information systems, so HRIS systems
Yes.
that really integrate tasks and policies and
Tracking, tracks all the things.
right
Yeah.
practices within the business to really become an optimal program that moves HR from a personnel department to a business driver. Because what you can get out of that system is data about your hiring process, about your performance reviews, your attendance. And so you're streamlining this manual work that many of us take
Right.
on and our team
Or it's in
takes
your
on.
head and now it's out of your
Right,
head.
now it's integrated into a system. You can drill down even further and be more specific on the benefit side, and now we can become a digital, administration system for the way that we manage our programs,
Right.
where there's no more double entry, no more enrollment forms. You have it so that it's an employee self-serve system.
Yep.
And so again, you're finding time by integrating these kinds of tools, CRM systems, right? To manage your customer base, your marketing strategies, your sales process to make it optimal,
Yep.
right? All of these things that could be very time-sucking can be then brought into a system, very
Right.
task-oriented.
Totally.
Online calendars.
Yes.
How many times did we send 3 emails to set up an appointment?
Right.
Whereas you can have your availability set up on this online
Right.
calendar.
People just book with you.
They book with you.
Yeah. Right.
Like how, like it's just a revolution to
Yeah.
me. But it's, again, a simple use of technology to find ways to make your time more efficient. And if you drill down even further, like, working with clients in optimizing their benefit program, we look at the cost of drugs. We look at the cost of running these programs and how do we optimize that process. And we have had it for years, mail order pharmacies.
Right.
Online pharmacies have been, it's such an old term, mail order pharmacies.
Right.
A picture going on the phone and making a phone call. But the reality is we buy so much online.
Right.
Right? Everything we do through Amazon, Wayfair, we buy furniture online. And
groceries.
yet we line up at the pharmacy and wait 30 minutes, even
Longer.
more,
Yeah, it's
longer,
usually longer. Yeah.
to get our prescription drugs, right? What we need to be preventative in our healthcare, we will line up and be frustrated about it and not get the privacy that we need with the pharmacist as well, right? Like people are right there and you're talking about your very private information.
Right.
So what I love about that is Amazon is in the pharmacy business now in the US.
Right.
It's coming here, but we already have the tools.
Right.
We have partners, Pocket Pills, Costco, Alliance Pharmacy, that are ready to really help us manage our time, right? And it's simple, and it's one-on-one, and it's personalized. So I find in our businesses, we can have personal ways of having time management so that we as a business owner, as a leader, can be performing at our optimal level, but then go and look for those tools within
Right, for the business.
for your business.
Yeah.
How do we then integrate it into your tasks, your day-to-day things that can be integrated and systemized?
And I love all of what you're saying because the resources that you're referring to are those that are filling the bottom axis of the flow. So where there's
Right.
a challenge, you've inserted a tool to bring, so that you don't have to keep all the HR stuff in your head. So you don't have to, dash out to get your prescription medications on lunchtime. What are all these things that are you're resourcing the bottom line to increase the flow.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
That was a lot to say about
yes.
time. And
About
it's-
time management.
About time management, yeah, I want to talk about time management. So, I mean, thank you for listening to us. Definitely interested, I'm interested to keep having a conversation with people. And next time we're going to be
We're going to talk about financial health,
Mhm.
such an important part of, focus for our business owners and leaders.
Mhm.
So
Awesome.
we look forward to seeing you next time.
See you then.
Thank you.